Alrighty, I feel like I went a day behind on every single story. Now that I waited a day to talk about the Cy Hirsch bombshell, now I'm a day late discussing the ouster of James O'Keefe from Project Veritas. Now, I would I would tend to say I am with the majority on this, in assuming that this is, I don't know if I would call it a coup. It's definitely just a ploy to destroy Project Veritas. That's what the board has done here. Project Veritas is James O'Keefe. Project Veritas is just a corporation by which James O'Keefe organized his journalistic efforts. And yes, he had a lot of people, 65 people, I guess, working under him at Project Veritas, but they were all working towards his ends. Project Veritas, without James O'Keefe, has no direction, and they are irrelevant. Now, interestingly, O'Keefe has not tweeted or said anything since the board ousted him, and this is, 2 weeks after the Pfizer expose? So I think clearly someone on the board is compromised, or the board in general, a majority of the board is compromised by Big Pharma. There are powerful people who have a vested interest in making sure that stories like the Pfizer expose don't come to light anymore. I don't buy this supposed excuse from the board that there were 16 employees who said that O'Keefe was, creating some kind of hostile work environment. When O'Keefe is your whole organization and there are 16 out of 65 employees, let's say, assuming this letter is accurate, that don't like him, you would just ask those people to part ways with you. Like, you don't cut off the head of the snake if you're trying to save an organization. That's not how that works. And so clearly this is not their real reason for getting rid of O'Keefe. If they did give a real reason, I might disagree with it, but at least I could say, okay, well, maybe these people are just idiots, not malicious. But when they make up an obvious lie that they try to feed their supporters on social media, and I would assume also their investors, this is not, this is beyond a red flag. This is red alert. Project Veritas is gone. It's over. You don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg because of a handful of whiny millennial employees. So now James O'Keefe will go off on his own, presumably, and he will find new investors, perhaps some of the same people who invested in Project Veritas before, to back him in whatever his new venture is. And I would imagine that a lot of Veritas employees, assuming that they didn't sign non-competes or something like that, which who knows, maybe they did and they can't do this, but as many of them, I would think, as possible, would migrate over to whatever the new entity is. So the good news is I don't think that this is the end of James O'Keefe, by no means. It could be the end of Veritas, but at the end of the day, Project Veritas is just a name. That's all it is. Because you get rid of the people that make up an organization, the organization doesn't exist anymore. It's not like Project Veritas has like a bunch of IPs or patents, to my knowledge. It is a vessel for the people working there. Veritas's only assets are human resources. It's their personnel. And the board of directors just very publicly abandoned and jettisoned their most valuable asset. They didn't even trade him. They didn't sell him off. They just said, hey, you're on your own. We don't need you anymore. And the board must know that this is a terrible business decision. This isn't like a close call. This isn't like, I think that this is a bad decision for them financially, but I can see how they, I think that they're stupid, but I think that they could have come to this decision honestly if they're just really dumb. No, there's no level of stupidity that could get you to this stage. It's pure malicious intent. Whoever is on the board of directors, a majority of them, do not want Veritas to survive. They are against the mission. They are infiltrators. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You know, this is so obvious that it is almost a priori true at this point. What I'm stating here is less my opinion and more so objective analysis. And I don't use that lightly. That's how easy of a call this is. Now, I saw a story, I think, in Zero Hedge that some of the Veritas investors are quite upset by this and, you know, are furious with the board. And I would think so, because if you invested in Veritas, you know, it's not like Veritas, to my knowledge, has any way of making money. You know, that is entirely, you know, you're putting money into supporting the efforts of James O'Keefe. That's what you do when you invest in Project Veritas. And so if I had given money to Project Veritas and I saw that they just jettisoned O'Keefe, I would be pissed because where did all my money go? Who got my money now? Who has my money? It's not the guy that I was giving it to. You know, nobody was giving this money because they thought that the board of directors were so great, or that they thought that these 16 whiny millennials who supposedly, if we're to believe the official narrative, don't like James O'Keefe and think that he's created a hostile work environment. Nobody invested in Project Veritas for those people. They invested in Project Veritas for one man and for one vision, and that is the vision of James O'Keefe. And so while I certainly think that this is a setback, because he will now have to rebuild from scratch, assuming that he is not somehow restored to his original position and that the board coup is thwarted, but you know, at this point, if they had a majority of people to remove him, I don't see how that changes. Unless they elect new members to the board at the next shareholders meeting, which I'm not sure about the schedule of the corporate governance of Project Veritas. But that's the only thing that I see happening here. But who knows? By then, the damage might be done. You know, enough people might have left, and they might not be able to rebuild this corporate structure. You know, James might already be on his own by then. Who knows? So, anyway, with that said, I'm not worried long term. James O'Keefe is okay. He's not in prison. He is still a free man. This is a setback. And this will not silence him. So, with all that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow. Although, programming alert next week, Monday through Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will be out of town. So, there will be no uploads until Thursday. So, to repeat myself, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.